As of right now, Niger intends to hold accountable everyone who threatened to use force to overthrow the government. In this way, the West is using Nigeria, its president Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and the ECOWAS as a vehicle to overthrow the coup in Niger. Under the leadership of Nigeria's president, ECOWAS had already threatened to use force to force Niger to undo its coup. Indeed, Nigeria, an African nation, posed a threat to another African nation. Niger has therefore made the decision to punish not just Nigeria but all of Europe. As an illustration of what Niger is capable of, it recently declared that it will no longer export cooking gas, sometimes known as liquefied petroleum gas, to any nation, including Nigeria. Niger, however, made it quite apparent that the Trans-Saharan Gas Pipeline, which is crucial to all of Europe, would be shut off if Nigeria, the ECOWAS, and Europe did not leave Niger alone. How serious is this warning, and how crucial is the Trans-Saharan Gas Pipeline to Europe? Look at this in the video, shall we? Tuesday marked the official announcement by the Nigerian government that all exports of cooking gas, also known as liquefied petroleum gas, will be immediately suspended until further notice. NIMI's officials emphasized the need of giving home production top priority in order to satisfy domestic demand, as reported by Reuters. They made it clear that companies can request permission to continue exports in the case of a surplus. You should be aware that the majority of Niger's gas exports go to Nigeria, a neighboring country. Notably, in 2020, a memorandum of understanding for the import of petroleum products was signed by both nations. In the presence of their respective ministers of state for petroleum, Fuma Koye Agado representing the Niger Republic and Timipri Silva representing Nigeria, the agreement was formally signed. Silva said at the time that this was a big improvement. Nigeria is a market for the excess goods that need to be evacuated from the Niger Republic. There will be benefits for both parties in this partnership. But with Nigeria now siding with Niger, the supply of LPG could not continue because of the escalating hostilities. Nigeria would surely find itself in a tough predicament because it needs the LPG so badly. You should be aware that liquefied petroleum gas, which is used for heating, cooking, and automobiles, has experienced a significant price hike in Nigeria. Previously selling for 750 naira per kilogram, it has now risen to an astounding 1,000 naira per kilogram. Prior to this, the Nigerian Association of Liquefied Petroleum Gas Marketers issued a warning about possible price increases brought on by changes in foreign exchange rates and global market activity. The Nigerians have applauded the country's efforts to use this excess LPG for a variety of other domestic purposes, to address the elimination of fuel subsidies and ease the transportation challenges faced by the state's citizens. Niagara State Governor Mohammed Bago has acquired 200 buses that run on compressed natural gas. At a luncheon in the state capital of Minna, which was attended by members of the House of Representatives Press Corps, he revealed this effort. He also disclosed the plan of the state administration to execute a memorandum of understanding with a rice processing facility in Kano to buy Niger's state-produced paddy rice directly. The governor stressed that contracts have been let out for building a 566-kilometer road network that will cross the state as part of the infrastructure development plan. However, why is extra care being taken to make sure Nigeria doesn't receive LPG from Niger? The president of Nigeria played a key role in pressuring ECOWAS to take military action and intervene in Niger's domestic affairs. He has asked the Nigerian parliament to approve his invasion of Niger. Stopping LPG exports to Nigeria is just the beginning. You can see how Niger would view him. Because of the precedent of Nigeria, the regional bloc of West Africa said that military action in Niger, led by the coup, was being considered as a last resort. Nigeria cut off its electricity supply at the same time, applying pressure to the coup leaders in the nation. While a delegation landed in Niger for negotiations, West African military chiefs met in Abuja, the capital of Nigeria, to plan a reaction. This happened a week following the coup that rocked the already unstable country. leaders of the West African states' economic community issued trade and financial sanctions, threatening to use force if the coup leaders did not restore Niger's legitimately elected president within a week. Abdel Fattah Musa, the Nigerian government's ECOWAS commissioner for political affairs, peace, and security, stated that although using force is the last resort, ECOWAS must be ready for any eventuality. Talks were held in Niger with an ECOWAS delegation led by former Nigerian leader Abdul Salami Abubakar. As the military and economic superpower of West Africa, Nigeria, the current chair of ECOWAS, has promised to take a strong stand against the rising number of coups that have occurred in the area since 2020. The Nigerian power provider Nigelec affirmed that the sanctions had caused it to stop supplying Niger with electricity. 70% of the power in Niger, one of the world's poorest nations, comes from Nigeria. Junta-ruled Mali and Burkina Faso have issued warnings that any military action in their neighboring country will be interpreted as an act of war against them. Moscow warned that threatening to intervene will not reduce tensions or stabilize the domestic situation in Niger, and demanded an immediate national dialogue. In addition, the World Bank declared that it would no longer be providing aid to Niger, with the exception of private sector collaborations. Later, Russia threatened to launch a protracted fight in Nigeria if it intervened militarily. This transpired subsequent to the regional alliance, ECOWAS disclosing its intentions to form a reserve army. The Russian Foreign Ministry claims that the Sahel region would become unstable as a result of such an operation. But the United States asserted that its Wagner mercenary squad was capitalizing on the unrest, supporting efforts to restore the ousted leader Mohamed Bazoum. Subsequently, protesters outside a French military post near Niamey, the capitale, held demonstrations led by coup sympathizers, some of whom were flying Russian flags. They yelled things like, "Down with ECOWAS, down with France." The bloc made it clear that it was still willing to work toward a diplomatic resolution of the issue. However, Bola Tinubu, the president of Nigeria, declared that all options were open, including the use of force as a last resort. The United States called on the junta to step down and allow the restoration of the nation's democratic constitution, but it did not specifically support military intervention. However, the intention was not limited to instructing Nigeria. As France and all of Europe appear to be in favor of ECOWAS's military action in Niger, it was determined that Europe ought to be made to feel the pinch as well. As a result, Niger has issued a strong warning that it will terminate the Trans-Saharan Gas Pipeline if Europe meddles in any manner in Niger's domestic affairs. At that point, it becomes clear to us what the Trans-Saharan Gas Pipeline represents for Europe's future. In order to improve the European Union's gas supplies, the Trans-Saharan Gas Pipeline, also known as the Niger Pipeline and Trans-African Gas Pipeline, were proposed in the 1970s. Keep in mind that the pipeline's primary goal was to enable Europe to diversify its energy sources. Since Europe was mostly dependent on Russia for natural gas, this pipeline was only intended to ensure the continent's energy security. Later, in January 2002, a memorandum of understanding was signed by Algeria's national oil and gas firm, Sonatrach, and the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, laying the groundwork for the project. NNPC and Sonatrach then collaborated with Penspin Limited in June 2005 to start a feasibility study, which was effectively finished in September 2006. The technical and financial feasibility of the pipeline was validated by the study. On February 20, 2009, the three governments in the joint venture agreement agreed to move forward with the proposed memorandum of understanding between NNPC and Sonatrach. An important step forward for the pipeline was accomplished on July 3, 2009, in Abuja, when the ministers of energy from Nigeria, Niger, and Algeria signed an intergovernmental agreement. Here, Niger played a pivotal role in this pipeline. Its location puts it between Algeria and Nigeria, which offers it several opportunities. Nigeria must construct a pipeline from its borders to Niger in order for the gas pipeline to be successful. If Niger refuses to participate, the pipeline project will fail, and gas will not reach Algeria or Europe. For more videos about Black history, culture, civilization, and identity, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Now let's go on. In the Wari region of Nigeria, continuing north through Niger and on to Hasiyar Amel in Algeria. It will join current pipelines at Hasiyar Amel, including Asgalcia, Medgaz, Trans-Mediterranean, and Maghreb-Europe, which together supply Europe from Algeria's Mediterranean coast. It is estimated that the TSGP will be 4,128 km long overall, with 1,037 km in Nigeria, 841 km in Niger, and 2,310 km in Algeria. The pipeline is anticipated to have a diameter of 48 to 56 inches and an annual capacity of up to 30 billion cubic meters of natural gas. The original projections were for it to be operational by 2015, requiring an estimated $3 billion in gas gathering facilities and an additional $10 billion for the pipeline. The Republic of Niger, Sonatrach, and the NNPC are intended to work together on the pipeline's development and maintenance. 90% of the shares were initially supposed to be jointly owned by NNPC and Sonatrach, with 10% going to Niger. A number of foreign companies have indicated interest in working on the project, including Italy's Enispa, France's Total SA, India's Gale, Russia's Gazprom, and Royal Dutch Shell. The energy ministries of Nigeria and Algeria have communicated that prospective partners are need to provide more than just financial backing in order to participate in the project. An old concept to build a gas pipeline across the Sahara Desert was given fresh life in June 2022 by the energy ministers of Nigeria, Niger, and Algeria. The Trans-Saharan Gas Pipeline was an ambitious project that aimed to connect Algeria's Hassi R'Mel feeder hub along the Mediterranean coast with Nigeria's vast Wari hydrocarbon reserves. If this project is successful, it will provide significant business prospects in the design and construction industries and will require the involvement of numerous specialist suppliers. Particularly American suppliers are eager to profit from this massive undertaking. A vast array of services and goods are available, such as trenching excavators, gas compression stations, pipeline sections, pipe layers, X-ray welding, pumps, fittings, valves, flanges, gaskets, high-pressure flow control technologies, sophisticated high-corrosion solutions, pipeline integrity, testing and inspection, and flow measurement and maintenance technology. But Niger's desire can only come true if she so chooses. However, the Trans-Saharan Gas Pipeline project, which is thought to be essential for its admission into the European gas market, is encountering major obstacles as a result of Europe's stance against Niger. The military takeover in Niger in July has cast doubt on the project's survival and prompted the ECOWAS, a regional bloc led by Nigeria, to consider sending troops. Therefore, the rationale for taking a risk on the pipeline shifted from Niger to Nigeria, ECOWAS, and Europe. The Trans-Saharan Pipeline may be the reason behind Algeria's keen interest in mediating the Niger problem, according to experts. The military governments of Mali and Burkina Faso have also stated that they will back Niger in the case of an ECOWAS invasion. This adds to the delicate nature of the problem. Europe, Nigeria, Algeria, and ECOWAS must realize that Niger alone has the key to the pipeline's destiny. They must therefore consider it calmly, rather than launching an offensive and destroying the pipeline themselves. They have to realize that Niger will exploit its security agreement with Mali and Burkina Faso to escape if it finds itself in a tight spot. However, as soon as it's outside, it will make sure that the Trans-Saharan Gas Pipeline breaks. This demonstrates that Europe is not the only country in need of the Trans-Saharan Gas Pipeline. It is essential. With its energy ties with Russia deteriorating, Europe is actively searching for stable alternative energy sources, especially natural gas. In this way, the Trans-Saharan Gas Pipeline has transcended its boundaries and come to Europe's aid. With energy poverty increasing throughout Europe, The TSGP project has the potential to bring in a new era of energy security for the continent. Up to 30 billion cubic meters of gas per year might be transported from Nigeria, a country in West Africa, north through Niger and Algeria after the $13 billion pipeline is finished. The TSGP gas will then either be loaded into the Gulf of Mexico or pumped through the underwater Trans-Mediterranean pipeline to Europe, onto tankers carrying liquefied natural gas for export. Many energy experts, however, are skeptical that African gas will reach Europe very soon. In fact, some predict that the pipeline may not be built in the next 10 years. Isaac Beatty, an Abuja-based Nigerian public finance specialist, thinks that a lack of political will could be the project's main obstacle. Absent? That's accurate, though, as despite Nigeria's status as an enemy, Europe and the pipeline's member nations cannot expect it to abide by the agreement. Maybe the president of Nigeria and Europe overlooked the pipeline that would benefit all parties involved. The Nigerian government bears no responsibility in this regard. Algeria has responded as any logical nation would, particularly given the magnitude of the stakes. Algeria understands that it is preferable to plan ahead and give long-term objectives priority, because the Trans-Saharan Gas Pipelines have the potential to provide billions of dollars to each nation. Nonetheless, the president of Nigeria decided to be a simple mark to be used as a puppet. He abandoned the pipeline and all of his nation's internal problems, jumping on the bandwagon to oppose Niger and even requesting that parliament attack the country. France would have occasionally been taken aback by how much its puppet enjoyed itself. However, the Nigerian president gave in on selling the country's enormous energy reserves in the process. Most of the 30 billion cubic meters of gas will come from Nigeria's Niger Delta, an Atlantic Ocean coastal region known for possessing the continent's greatest oil reserves. In addition to having an abundance of crude oil resources, the delta has large natural gas deposits. Nigeria is now the continent's second largest gas exporter behind Algeria. However, these deposits have no value in the absence of the Trans-Saharan Pipeline, but Europe will be the one with the most losses. Roughly 1/3 of the energy consumed in Europe in 2021 came from burning natural gas. This reliance on gas permeated a number of industries, including heating, power generation, and transportation. The burning of fossil fuels accounted for a significant majority, or 76%, of Europe's energy generation in 2021. 34% were gas, 31% were oil, and 11% were coal. Nuclear power made up the remaining 10% of the energy mix, with renewable sources like hydropower, solar, wind, and biofuels contributing 14%. Russia's gas supply restrictions gave Europe's search for alternate energy sources further impetus. This demonstrates the significance of the Trans-Saharan Gas Pipeline to Europe. It is noteworthy that the world's top importer of natural gas is Europe. Together, Russia, Germany, the United Kingdom, Italy, and France used up 75% of the energy available on the continent in 2021, or 10,073 terawatt-hours of gas. The escalation of energy costs precipitated by Russia's involvement in the conflict in Ukraine has prompted multiple European Union nations to announce emergency protocols involving significant financial obligations. For example, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz unveiled a $65 billion plan to help people and companies deal with rising energy prices. Additionally, a $17 billion aid package aimed at protecting individuals and companies from the effects of climate change has been approved by the Italian government. From growing consumer prices and energy-related costs, the EU must step up its efforts to create renewable energy sources and restructure the electrical market, according to French President Emmanuel Macron. The European Union urgently needs a comprehensive solution to address the issues facing its energy sector right now. Dependence on the Trans-Saharan Gas Pipeline is the best option available. However, things have started to go wrong because of France's strategies of meddling in other nations. You should be aware that Niger has merely issued a warning on the termination of the gas pipelines. Thus, Europe and France still have time to avoid becoming involved in the Niger coup situation. Given that Niger has already outlawed the export of LPG to Nigeria, It is evident that Niger takes its obligations seriously. That's not a bluff, because Niger wouldn't stop exporting LPG, which contributes significantly to its income, if it were. Do you believe that Niger should permit the Trans-Saharan Gas Pipeline to cross its territory? Isn't it a useful tool to persuade Europe to avoid getting involved in internal African affairs? Tell us what you think about Niger having the advantage throughout, and that it should make good use of it. Would you like to see more videos similar to this one? Click the bell icon next to it and subscribe to our channel if the answer is yes. We've made the decision to deliver videos on a topic that is rarely discussed: the history, culture, and proof of how magnificent Black people have been. I appreciate you viewing, and be sure to tune in for the next one.